the point of view of a child, kind of idolizing her father and knowing that Promises Delivered is exactly what he stands for.
Through that monogram, we created the three A's coming into one place to form a pyramid.
It comes from the personality of the promoter itself. Otherwise, it will never be trusted.
Thank you, Ashik and Madan, for joining us here today for this conversation. So, Ashik, I want to start with you a little bit, and you've had a long history with Asher Group. I wanted to brush upon what happened. I think you joined in about 2014. That's when Thought Trains associated with
Right.
Asher Group, and that was one of our first agency associations back then. And I want to understand, where did this assignment come in place, and what was your first thoughts when you kind of got on this project and got on board with Asher Group?
So I met Anju Asher, Mrs. Anju Asher, and the welcome was very warm, and that's where we started our journey from. Felt like home because when we started 10 years back, at that time it was more about okay, what can we do now? Because the brand was not, it was known, but it was not presented in a level where people could understand, or what is the strategy, what is the intent of the brand, what, how do we position. All those was not there in the whole scheme of things. So first we met Anjuji, felt very good, felt very warm. Then she introduced us to Ajay Bhai. Ajay Bhai was again gave a very warm welcome. He said, "Okay, let's start off. Let's see how it goes." And that was how we started with Asher IT Park. And
Okay,
that
yeah.
was one of the first projects of Asher, and very big, very strategic relocated project in Thane. And then while going ahead, we were observing about how the brand has been accepted, how the what is the reaction of people towards the brand. Everything was looking very positive in next 2 3 years. Then we suggested to go for a brand exercise because we felt that it could be presented in a much better way. So in 2017, we proposed this exercise, and Anjuji was very positive about it. She said, "Okay, let's go for it." So at that time, we had already observed 3 years of how Asher is accepted. There's a huge acceptance. Products were good, good quality stuff. So again, we get as advertisers, we get very big confidence when we see that okay, what we are talking is also being done by the developer. We say okay, we have big promises, we will do this, we will do that, and if the developer does it, that's where the brand comes in play. Otherwise, only by advertising you cannot form a brand if the builder doesn't talk the walk, or walk the talk rather. So we said okay, let's go for a brand exercise. So she was very positive about it, and at that time we presented the brand through a very thoughtful process of what we saw was action, attitude, and ambition. So ambition, why? Because we saw that the lineup was really good in terms of it was a very ambitious kind of projects you had in the lineup. Action, why? Because again, I was seeing the last 3 years the progress was quite good. It's not that we are going slow. Whatever was delivered, or rather told to be delivered in a particular time, was getting there, and things customers were happy. So there was a lot of action happening, and attitude. Again, the brand already was known. It was on a positive space. It had a very positive path to follow if presented well. So we combined those three attributes and came up with a logo, the symbol, which was a combination of action, attitude, and ambition. And there you see in the logo, you see a triangle forming with three A's. Asher, A for Asher was already there before we designed this logo.
Yeah.
So we graduated from there and gave
So I
up
don't know if
little
you've
meaning.
seen that logo, Madan. It says, it's a single A with the blue one. That's the old
Not
logo.
at all.
Yeah, and it says dreams, design, and delivery, and those were the three words in the earlier logo before.
I haven't seen that. I've
Before
only
the
seen
current
this.
logo. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, what does A stand? What does A stand for? So we tried giving a meaning based on what we felt in these 3 years of journey, what we heard from people, how they perceive Asher, and through that monogram we created the three A's coming into one place to form a pyramid, which was the realization. Okay, whether are the dreams getting realized, whether are the promises getting fulfilled, whether whatever we are saying, are we doing that or not? So there was all ticks in all the boxes we felt, and that's how we perceived this. That's how we created this.
Yeah, when you say this, it takes me back to, I remember I was in college back then, and my mom, sent me all the options. There were, I think, 3 or 4 options in a PDF. I think more than that. I think there were like about 6 options,
Yeah,
five or 6 options. And I was discussing it with my friends because, it was an exciting thing to discuss at that point. And she was like, okay, what really clicks for you? Because at that point we weren't really thinking from a marketing point of view. I was just thinking of, I've grown up seeing this brand, and I know the principles and the hard work and the values and everything that has gone into building this brand. And I was like, out of all of these, options, which one really stands out? And that was Promises Delivered for me, but from a more not as much from marketing point of view, but more so as, the point of view of a child, kind of idolizing her father and knowing that uh, Promises Delivered is exactly what he stands for, right? It's his personality. And I don't know your take on it, but I feel real estate in general is a very personality or promoter driven brand. And so to put that, into words, I think Promises Delivered summarized it perfectly. And it was kind of an extension of his natural personality. And I don't know what you feel about that, but to me, as a 17-18 year old kind of thinking about what really is that next step for the brand, I think it made a lot of sense, and it felt like a story that we can continue for the long term because it's so integral to the brand. They're principles that we live by day in day out, and that's not going to change. Things may change, growth trajectory may come, COVID happens, everything else is more, fluctuating, but what that foundation that brand is built on stays consistent. And to me, when I saw that, that's what really stood out. And of course the design and everything, it was really, really nicely done. And I remember being so fascinated. I was like, okay, yes, I think this really kind of epitomizes what we want to convey. So that was my little bit of, thought. But I just want to hear from you, maybe, Madan, that how is it, do you feel real estate brands are personality driven brands, and which is very different from how we perceive brands in general, right? Because when you say brand, it has its own identity, and it should. But I feel very often than not in real estate, it is because your last name more often than not is attached to the brand, and so it is a natural extension of the personality.
The entire context of it comes from that I don't know the brand as much as I know the person initially. So the person is whom I look at and say, if he has said it, I trust him. The brand is inconsequential at this point of time. It's his name or her name. I think that is the genesis of a lot of brands in any case. And in the case of real estate, it becomes even more acute because a large amount of times there is a personal interaction with the promoter, be it in terms of an associate, be it in terms of a vendor, or be it in terms of a customer. You tend to have, initially at least, in the formative space, when you have a lot of interaction with the promoter. So the promoter becomes the brand champion. So you can't take the promoter away from the brand. So I agree in that sense, and it's very logical in the case of this, because finally, let's say we have a project, and the project has got the first project, for instance, it has 50 sale points. Most often than not, the promoter would have been involved in at least 20 of them, of those sales.
True.
Which means that the person has actually committed something. So to take the Promises Delivered part, it comes from the personality of the promoter itself, whoever it may be. I mean, it has to come from them. Otherwise, it will never be trusted.
Right.
If the personality does not reflect the brand's promise, the promise is very, nebulous, to say the least.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.